The day of the Kyuubi attack. Okay, I'm skipping this since everybody knows what happened. The only difference is that in this story Minato sealed both the Yin and Yang parts of the Kyuubi's chakra into Naruto, and the Uzumaki are descendants of the third and oldest child of the Rokudo Sannin that inherited his soul. So the youngest brother got the sage's body, the older got the eyes, and the eldest child, the daughter, got the soul. I think this fits seeing as chakra is made from physical and spiritual energy, and both the Senju and Uzumaki have something special about their chakra. 6 years after the Kyuubi attack. It was a normal day for Naruto as he walked down one of the streets of Konoha. If people were not glaring at him, they were ignoring him. Naruto wasn't sure what he preferred. His thoughts on the matter was cut short as a hand grasped him, and he was pulled into an alley before being knocked unconscious. Naruto later woke up in the middle of a large forest from the punch of his kidnapper. Well, it seems the little demon brat's finally awake, came the taunting voice of a young man with red eyes and shinobi uniform, and just seeing the 3 tomo in the eyes Naruto knew it was an Uchiha. Now that you are awake, I can begin getting a little justice for all the Uchihas that died because of you. Just as Naruto was going to respond, the Uchiha silenced him by putting his hand over his mouth, and then with his other hand pulled a syringe filled with something red that he injected into Naruto's chest near the heart. This was hard to get, but it's just perfect for killing little demons. You see this, the blood of the Shodame Hokage. So it will stop that annoying healing that you have, and kill you as it did those children that Orochimaru used it on. So how does it feel to know you're gonna die, you little hellspawn? The Uchiha says as he brings Naruto up to his eye level, something he regretted directly after as Naruto reached out and clawed at his face with his hand, drawing blood, as well as damaging the left eye. The Uchiha immediately drops the boy, who runs off while trying to wipe of the red liquid that had gotten onto his face and in his eyes when he clawed the Uchiha. Back with the Uchiha, the man was trying to decide if he should go after the boy or return home and make sure his eye wasn't damaged too badly. In the end, he decided that the brat wasn't worth the trouble, as returned home to get some aid for his eye and keep his other on his best friend Itachi, who has been becoming more distant from the clan recently. As for Naruto, he had found his way back to the village and was now resting in his bed, not knowing the effect this event would have on his life. Inside the Kyuubi's seal. Inside of the seal, the Kyuubi was awake and at work dealing with the new DNA his host now had in his body, both from the injection and the blood that he got in his eyes. At first the fox was just going to try and destroy it, but that was easier said than done. Also, the Senju DNA gave of a calming feeling that Fox found he enjoyed, so in the end, he decided to use the situation to take care of 3 problems. The first was making his stay here more enjoyable thanks to the Senju DNA. The second was keeping his host alive, and third, make it so that Madara would have more trouble with extracting and controlling him than he can handle. All of this wouldn't be too hard, as not only are the DNA of the Uzumaki, Uchiha and Senju responding very well to each other, but out of all the bijou it was the Kyuubi's chakra that was the most suited for affecting living things, even if it was most often used harm and not heal. It was also during this time the Kyuubi managed to pull Naruto into the mindscape in order to have a talk with his host. "Huh? Where am I?" Naruto said as he appeared in what looked like a sewer. "Over here, Kit, come, we have some things to talk about," came the loud booming voice of the fox. A moment later Naruto was in front of the cage holding the Kyuubi. "Kyuubi, I take it that you are sealed inside of me, and that is the reason for all the nice names I get called from time to time," Naruto says, a somewhat bored tone as he looks at the giant fox. "What an interesting response, but I'm not that surprised after all. I've been with you your whole life, so I've always known that you are far smarter than you let on," the fox says while looking down on his container. Naruto just smiled in response before asking, "So Kyuubi-sama, for what reason did you want to talk to me for?" As he sits down in the water, Kyuubi grins before saying, "First of all, call me Kyo, and I was wondering if maybe we could find some way to make our stay together a bit more enjoyable for the both of us." Naruto simply smiles some more as he says, "Please do tell, for I'm all ears. Kit, something tells me the two of us are going to get along just fine," Kyo says before he and Naruto continue to talk all night long. Outside the seal. As Naruto is busy talking with his new friend, his body is experiencing some changes, nothing much, just getting a little bit taller, nails and teeth becoming more like an Inuzuka's. However, his eyes changed a lot. First a Sharingan appeared in his left eye and a Rinnegan in his right before they both faded, and then came back in each other places. After that they changed again, turning into grayish-red Rinnegans with 3 tomo on each of the second circle. After that it looked like some kind of thin Second layer grew and covers the eyes from view before taking the appearance of a normal Rinnegan, except it has a clear sky blue color. After that the eyes finally return to normal. That night, for some reason, Naruto smiled as he slept all the way to the morning. Konoha Park 1 month after the first chapter. Naruto was sitting in a tree at the park watching the other children play, as he himself was wondering if any one of them would be joining him at the academy in 5 weeks. As he thinking about this, a small bird came and landed on his shoulder. "Well now, what do you have for me today, my little Tori, bird?" Naruto's the bird turned its head towards him, showing its small grayish-blue Rinnegan eyes before dropping a look of hair and then fly of. Naruto made a small frown at the info he gained when the bird looked into his eyes. Apparently the hair was from a little boy in water country named Ranmaru who has impressive eyes but sadly a rather weak body. "So, Kyo-sensei, do you think you can do anything with this?" Naruto mentally asked his tenant. "I'm not sure, I'll see what I can do, so until then just be patient and see if you can find something else to preoccupy your time with," was the demon's response as Naruto put the hair in his mouth and swallowed. Naruto closed his eyes and started to think on what to do in order to forget this latest disappointment. Now you are probably wondering what this was all about. Well, the thing is that since Kyo could make Naruto's body gain the Mokuton, Sharingan and Rinnegan, then he could most likely do the same with other bloodlines, but they soon learned that was not the case after trying to get the Byakugan. Kyo had discovered that at most he would be able to add a small fraction of another Jujutsu to Naruto's eye. Any more would result in the eyes hurting like hell and the improvements being rejected. Body-based bloodlines, however, would be easier to deal with, but only a few would get added completely. Others would end up as weaker or incomplete versions. Chakra-based ones could easily get added. The problem, however, was that Naruto didn't really need them in the first place, as his Rinnegan not only allowed him to use all the Godai Saishitsu Henka, 5 elements nature transformations, but thanks to the Senju DNA, the Rinnegan also lets him combine them without too much trouble. Still, adding the other bloodline would make all of them easier and more effective, since the potency of elemental affinities would increase and also mix together easier. As Naruto was just sitting there, he was Clacido falling asleep, but quickly became alert when he felt a small pulse off chakra. Now normally, he wouldn't care, as things like that was common in a ninja village, but Naruto, having to deal with Kyuubi haters more than once, turned to where the pulse came from and used his eyes that now had bit of the Byakugan's telescopic vision, and what he found was not what he was expecting. Kuroame Kumajin, a proud and powerful, or at least that's what he likes to think, Jonin of Kumogakure, was positioned near one of the park in Konoha, hiding while going over his self-appointed mission in his head and keeping an eye on his targets, the clan heir of Konoha. He licks his lip while graping the item by his waist as a way keep a hold of his own confidence, as the item was the main reason for this. The item is the Shikasaiken 7-star sword, one of the Rakuto Senin no Hogu, treasured tools of the Sage of the Six Paths, that Kumo had collected. The Shikasaiken was given to his grandfather by the Nidaime Reikage after the death of the Kinjin Kyodai, Gold and Silver brothers, and has since then stayed in the family, but now was at risk of being taken away after the failure and death of his brother in his mission to steal the Byakugan 2 years ago, and that cannot be allowed. It was his. Nobody else was more worthy, but for some reason the Reikage doesn't understand, but soon he and everybody else in Kumo would see the greatness of the Kumajin, and then, "You do realize that you're thinking out loud, don't you?" Naruto said in a deadpan voice as he stood behind the Kumo shinobi, causing him freeze up a few seconds before turning around. "Huh? You're just a whatever, get lost brat, I don't have time for you. From now on I'm gonna call him Baka," Baka said before he saw Naruto making 5 hand seals before saying, Intan Jinjutsu, Sekai no Yami, release illusion, World of Darkness, and with that the Baka could no longer see or hear, causing him to freak out, start to slash around with a kuni, and finally trip over a root, making Naruto sweat drop. Is this guy for real? Even an academy student can get out of this. Just pulse your chakra or use the Genjutsu Kai illusion release. Once to get back your hearing, and then again to get back your sight. In fact, it would most likely break if you channeled more than a D-rank jutsu's worth of chakra. Naruto mentally deadpanned as he reached down and graped the Baka's head and started to use the mind-reading abilities of the Ninjendo human path. Just in case you don't know, the main body can use the path's abilities, as shown by Nagato in his battle with Hanzo, where he repealed a lot of kunai with something similar to the Tendo Deva path, to steal any useful information he may have while also talking to Kyo. "So how does the fact that you took down a Jonin feel?" I really don't think this guy counts as a Jonin, seeing as apparently he used his father and grandfather's glory and fame along with the reputation of the sword to worm his way up the ranks. This guy only has 2 jutsu besides the basic 3 of all villages, and only has a low chunin training in kinjutsu as he only knows half of the sword style he was taught. Wow, this guy sucks big time. I know, but anyway, I'm finished, so let go. Home. What about the body? How about we give him a nice and proper burial? Really? Fuck. No, let's just leave him here to rot, Naruto told the fox before pulling out the baka's soul, picking up the sword and other equipment, and then started walking home. Unknown to Naruto, someone had been watching him and had been sitting frozen in fear when Naruto met the baka as memories from 2 years ago came back. That person was Hinata Hyuga, who just sat and watched as the same boy who saved her from a group of bullies a year ago now most likely saved her again from one of the bad men that wants to take her away somewhere. It wasn't until an hour later, when a branch family member came and said that it was time to go home, that she regained the ability to move, and later, when she had fallen asleep in her bed, the name she once heard the Hokage call him one time in the park a few weeks ago was something she repeatedly mumbled in her sleep: Naruto-kun. The next day. That morning, Naruto could be found in a clearing surrounded by trees, training in using his new sword with the help of the sword style that he had taken out of the baka's head. Another thing was the power of the sword itself, which Kyo had a good amount of info on. Then again, he was part of the things sealed inside the sword original owner, so that not too strange, seeing as in this story the Kyuubi, unlike the other more mindless Bijou, also has large parts of the Jubi's memories. The most well-known thing about the sword is what it can do when used together with the other tools by having the Kokinjo, golden canopy rope, pull out someone's soul, and then use the Shikisaiken to cut off and curse the soul. After that, the soul would be recorded by the Benihiseigo, crimson gourd. After that, if the cursed one breaks the word's curse, say the word they said the most in their lives, they would be sucked into the Benihiseigo. There might be something after that involving one of the 2 remaining tools, but Kyo is having a hard time remembering at the moment. However, he does recall that the sword has more than 1 curse. In fact, there are 6 curses and 1 anti-curse, giving it a total of 7 curses. Yes, it's a lot, but it is called the 7-star sword for a reason. The curses are the word curse, the standard curse that sucks the victim into the gourd. If they say their most used word, this is also the only one that you need to cut the soul with. The others will still activate if you cut the body. This is also the only curse that is used, since nobody knows how to use a different one, the illusion curse. When the victim is cut by the sword, they will slowly start to hallucinate and most likely going mad after some time. The beast curse. When the victim is cut by the sword, they will slowly start to turn into an animal. What kind is a bit random, mostly something fitting for the one cut. The penance curse. When the victim is cut by the sword, they will force to experience all the pain, both physical and emotional, that they have inflicted upon other for unjust reasons. So things like self-defense or things like that doesn't count. And if enough, like for someone as Orochimaru, it might even kill the victim. The no evil curse. When the victim is cut by the sword, they will hear someone in their head say, see no evil, hear no evil, and speak no evil, and then lose the ability to see, hear, and speak. The misfortune curse. When the victim is cut by the sword, they will have extremely bad luck all the time for 7 years, so it's the same as breaking a mirror. And the 7th and last curse, the anti-curse. The user can, by wishing for it, make the names of those cursed appear on the sword, and then by speaking their names, release them from whatever curse they're under. The last thing about the sword is that the illusion, beast, penance, no evil, and the misfortune curses can only be used once a week each, no matter what day they were used. So if you use all 5 of them, then you won't be able to use them again until the end of Saturday and beginning of Monday, and that in order to choose which curse you want, you will have to say its name shortly before the cut, during the cutting, or shortly after you cut the victim. In short, it is a powerful, and nobody would know that it is the Shikisaiken, as Naruto had found a way to form a connection between the sword and his Rinnegan, and can now summon and change its form whenever he wants, and has now changed it into a completely new form. It now looks like the cursed sword that Saga has in the One Piece movie, Curse of the Sacred Sword. As Naruto was training, another one of the little animal spies that he had summoned came into the clearing. This time it was a lizard, but it didn't have anything with it, but that okay, after a while they don't have Naruto's Sharingan abilities, they can still see chakra and observe as people train, and when Naruto made eye contact with it, he smiled as it scampered off before continuing his sword training while looking at his new memories, making sure to pay close attention to what the Sandame Tsuchikage was saying as he was teaching his granddaughter Iwa's secret flying jutsu. Naruto was happy. No scratch that he was very happy. Why? Because he had been given a gift from 2 gods that had come down to Earth in the forms of a silver-haired cyclops and green humanoid-shaped thing with 2 fuzzy caterpillars on what most likely is its head. Flashback to earlier that day. Naruto was just been sitting at a nice little restaurant enjoying the free food he had persuaded, in other words Sharingan mind control, the owner to give him as a reward for joining the academy tomorrow. However, he then looked out the window and saw the two strangest people he had ever seen before, apparently having a contest of some sort. Yash, my eternal rival, it is your turn to decide what youthful challenge we will have this time. The green thing shouted out towards the silver-haired one standing just a short distance away. Okay, how about the first one to go and get a mission from the Hokage without moving his feet from this spot wins? The silver-haired one said with a lazy voice. Very well, Kakashi, but be ready, for I shall win this, but if I lose then I will dash. And with that the green one started ramble on about all the things he will do if he loses, not seeing Kakashi form a cross-shaped hand seal, creating a clone that starts jumping towards the Hokage tower. Nobody ever saw the blonde boy's eyes change back to normal after he had used the Sharingan part of his eyes, as soon as he had seen Kakashi bring his hands together. Flashback over. After trying out the new jutsu, Naruto quickly learned of the memory transferability and nearly cried of happiness, as he now no longer had to deal with a problem that had been bugging him for a long time now. You see, Naruto has had a hard time choosing just what to train in. After all, should he train his jujutsu, one of the many jutsu that his little spies had analyzed, one of his elemental bloodlines, or maybe he should try and make a new jutsu for one of his many elements, not to mention training his body? In short, there was just too many things for him to do all by himself. But now about 100 Narutos can be found at the training ground farthest from the rest of the village, all doing one thing or another, such as chakra control exercises that Naruto read about in the library after getting the old librarian fired because she refused to let him be there. The real Naruto was at the moment sparring with two of his clones while wearing weights and was doing rather well until the clones started using jutsu. Asterisk Koton, Shintosnaboj, Steel Release. Impervious Armor, asterisk one of the clones called out as the skin on its hands and arms turn into an almost black dark gray color. Asterisk Raitun, Jibashi, Lightning Release. Electromagnetic Murder, asterisk the other clone said as it sent out a wave of electricity at the original. In the end, it didn't help at all, as the original raised his hands towards the two clones, just as they called out their jutsu, and two black diamond marks overlapping each other appeared on each of his hands. Asterisk Meitun, Kyukitsuko, Dark Release. Inhaling Ma, asterisk, and with that the two clones along with their jutsu were sucked into the original's hands. With the fight over, Naruto sits down thinking on what to do next before he goes to sleep, as he will be going to the academy tomorrow. His thoughts were interrupted, however, as one of his summoned birds appeared out of thin air. Something his spies can do now that he discovered that the animal path lets him use something called Zafuku Kuchios no Jutsu, amplification summoning technique. This is a summoning technique that in which the summoned creature is given a special condition, and when that condition is met it gains a certain ability. In this case, it is that Naruto's spy summons becomes hidden in a jutsu that hides them from sight and chakra sensing when near people with chakra other than Naruto. The bird had what Naruto could tell was a piece of a bandage with some blood on it, and after making eye contact in order to gain its memories, he was surprised and happy to know that it was from a person with a bloodline that lets one use an element that Naruto has been trying to recreate ever since Kyo told him about it. The bloodline that allows the crystallization of all matter, the Shoton, Crystal Release. After consuming to the blood, Naruto decided that he had done enough for today, and after getting into bed dispelled his clones, letting the info backlash knock him out. Next day. Hey, wake up kid, it's time for you to go the academy, Kyo said as he woke his host/little brother figure. Naruto yawned and nodded as he got out of the bed, ate breakfast and got dressed. Speaking which, Naruto was now wearing a pair of dark blue shinobi pants and a light blue with purple trim Chinese shirt. Also his hair had changed a bit. Not sure how to describe it, but just think Ichigo's hair when he fight Aizen after mastering Zangetsu, but instead of orange it's the same blonde as always, before heading towards the academy. As Naruto left his apartment, he made a large amount of kage bunshins that he sent to different locations that he knew people rarely if ever visited, as well as a large group to the library under Hengis. The academy. As Naruto entered the academy, he could already hear how many of the adults there warned their kids to stay away from him. After that, he found his classroom and sat down along with all the other kids waiting for the teacher. While he was waiting, he could feel someone watching him, so he started to look around to see who it was. The first person that stood out was a loud boy with 2 red tattoos on his cheeks and a puppy on his head. This was one of the clan children. His name is Kiba Inuzuka. After that came a platinum blonde girl who was arguing with a pink-haired girl over a raven-haired kid, whom Naruto recognized as the younger brother of Uchiha Itachi, but none of them as the one he felt, so he ignored them. After that there was a FAR big-boned kid, a lazy kid with pineapple-shaped hair, a quiet kid who was looking at a bug, and then he saw her. She was wearing a baggy jacket, had indigo-colored hair and a pair of pretty white eyes. Then they made eye contact and the girl became a whole new shade of red when Naruto smiled and waved at her, and just after she did the same back the teacher came into the classroom. "Hello everyone, my name is Irika and I'm going to be your teacher for the 8 years you're all going to be here," the now named Irika said as all the kids got ready for an exiting lesson. "Now then, let's have an introduction so we will all know each other, and then we can start our first lesson, history," Irika declared, happily ignoring the children's disappointed faces. It was the start of something that would bore many into insanity. The academy. It has been a month since Naruto was seriously questioning the competence of the school board, as he found the lessons to be severely lacking. He had found a few things that he enjoyed, like playing shogi with the lazy kid and quiet kid whose names he had learned was Shikamaru and Shino. Naruto also enjoyed talking with the white-eyed girl named Hinata, trying to help her with her shyness as well as making her blush, as he found her incredibly cute when she does that. He had also found someone to help him train his body. It was the same green thing he saw the day he copied the Kage Bunshin. That thing was Madogai. Flashback. 2 weeks ago. Naruto had just arrived at one of the normally unused training ground where he discovered that it was already being used by someone. YOSH. "And once I've punched this log 200 times I will. Oh, hello there," Guy said as he noticed Naruto entering the training field.
Naruto ang suarat.
"And what would a youthful young boy like you be doing here at this youthful training field?" Gasp. "Wait. Don't tell me. I can already guess that you are here to fan your flames of youth," Guy said as he shouted the last part. "Right, sure, let's go with that," Naruto says in a somewhat freaked out tone as he tried to decide if he should run away or not. YOSH. "Then I, the beautiful green beast of Konoha, shall assist you in your attempt to fan your flames of youth," Guy shout as he appears in front of Naruto and makes a nice guy pose. "For some reason I'm starting to wish that I ran away," thinks a really freaked out Naruto. Flashback ends. However, he has also discovered something disturbing about himself. While his life has been getting better, it didn't change the pain and hardship he suffered when he was younger and hadn't met Kyo. He suppressed the pain, anger, and other negative emotions that he felt, and that in turn created something inside of him. This being is a problem, as this causes a kind of spiritual instability in his soul, preventing him from gaining full control over all the Rinnegan's abilities, one of which is the 6 paths of transmigration that will let him have more than one body. But he already knew a way to get rid of it, as all he needed to do was let it out and it would start to fade away along with the suppressed emotions, and even though he didn't like the result of letting it out, he needed to do it, otherwise it would just grow and most likely cause some serious problems in the future. In fact, today was one of the days he would be letting it out, which is why he wasn't very happy when the academy ended for the day. That night, Naruto was walking toward a house near the center of Konoha. It wasn't his no, the reason he was going there was because of who lived there. Iwamaru Tate, once a fellow orphan and now soon to be corpse. The reason was that back during Naruto's time in the orphanage, he was constantly being bullied by that fat little bastard, and Iwamaru also kept stealing food and putting the blame on him. And now that which Naruto has come to call Yami, Naruto wants revenge. It was easy for Naruto to enter the house, as the family there were civilians, and once he was inside Iwamaru's room, they cast a noise-blocking jutsu and then the execution began. "Hey asshole, wake up," Naruto said as he kicked Iwamaru of the bed. "Wow, what the hell? What are you doing? In fact, why the hell are you here?" Iwamaru shouted as he looked at the one who had woken him up. "Long story short, I have some pent-up anger and stuff that I'm gonna take out on you for all the shit you put me through back at the orphanage a few years ago," Naruto answered as he sent a poke into Iwamaru's jaw, breaking it. After that, Naruto continued to hit, kick and hurt the fat boy, getting angrier as more and more painful memories appeared in his head, but with each injury inflicted upon Iwamaru the memories started to fade. An hour later Iwamaru was nothing more than a bloody and whimpering mess when Naruto finally decided to end it and preformed 5 hand seals, making a baseball-sized orange sun appear in his hand. Shikuten. Dasue no Sure. Scorch release. Death by dehydration, Naruto stated, as he threw the mini-sun at Iwamaru's now still form, which shortly after that started to look like a mummy without its bandages. After that, Naruto simply left the explosion tag with a 4-minute time delay and headed home. Once Naruto laid down on the bed, he just closed his eyes. Naruto's mindscape. The mindscape, once a sewer and now a field full of grass with a big-ass fox with 9 tails sleeping in the middle of it. So the fat bastard is gone, Naruto heard someone say from behind him, making turn around, causing him to come face to face with himself, except more angry looking and transparent. Yeah, so that makes it 5 people now: the orphanage matron, that one store owner, those 2 chunins, and now Iwamaru. Naruto answered his darker self. You know, I wouldn't mind another 2 kills or so, but it's not worth it, Yami Naruto says before he hold out his hand to Naruto. Naruto simply smiles sadly and grabs Yami Naruto's hand, making him turn into blackish purple dust that is absorbed into Naruto's body, accepting his darkness before leaving his mindscape. Kyo lazily opens his right eye and thinks, yeah, it's finally time for him to learn one of the Rinnegan's most powerful abilities, the 6 paths of transmigration. I'll teach it to him tomorrow before falling asleep again. Naruto was sitting at his desk in the academy. It has been a little more than a month since he had accepted and absorbed his inner darkness and been told how to use the 6 paths ability of his Rinnegan, which he had used 2 weeks ago. Flashback 2 weeks ago. Forest clearing. Naruto was meditating in the forest near an abandoned shed, preforming hand seals while listening to Kyo. Okay Kit, once you feel that you have memorized the hand seals, we can begin and get ready. This jutsu is both tiring and painful, but out of the 3 versions the Rokudo Sannin made, this one was far better than the one that used standard clones or dead bodies, Kyo says as Naruto opens his eyes and walks into the middle of the clearing. He preforms up to 30 hand seals and calls out, Asterisk Rinnegan on Mayatan Hinjutsu. Rinne Bunshins, Rinnegan Inyang release secret technique. Samsara clones, asterisk. And with that, chakra bursts out from his body and splits into 6 human-sized orbs that slowly starts to take human form. While all of this was happening, Naruto had fallen on his knees and was gritting his teeth in pain, as it felt as if he was being ripped apart both physically and mentally. After an hour of the torture's experience, he finally recovered enough to see the results of his jutsu, and there they were, his 6 paths, all looking just like him. Naruto quickly noticed that their eyes were completely blank. Hey Kyo, what gives? Why are their eyes blank, and why can't I control them? Naruto asked his favorite giant Furby. You haven't connected them to yourself yet, so just go to one. Look it in the eyes, place your hand over its heart and channel your chakra into it, Kaya said while he did whatever it was he was doing at the moment. Naruto followed the instructions and soon he was looking with 2 pairs of eyes. After getting used to this new dual perspective of the world, he proceeded to do the same to his other paths, after which he started to practice in controlling them, something that wasn't all that easy. Well, this may take a while, Naruto says as he scratches the back of his head, only to sweat drop as he saw and felt himself and all his paths do the same. Flashback ends. Since then he has learned how to use his paths without much trouble, as well as learned the difference between the different version the Rokudo Sannin created. The first just used normal clones like water, earth, or shadow clones. The good thing about this version was that the paths were easily replaceable, but they were too easy to destroy and couldn't fully use their abilities without risking dispelling from the large amount of power. The second version used the corpses of others. This kind was harder to destroy but needed chakra receivers to work, and the paths became weaker the farther away from the main body they went, along with almost only being able to use their path abilities. The one Naruto is using was the last version the Rokudo made. This one had no problems when it comes to the range between the paths and main body, nor was the paths limited to just their standard abilities, as inside Naruto's mindscape there are 6 statues, each with a scroll with the status and info of its path on it that can be used to change the paths in different ways. Not only that, but the paths are just as real as Naruto's main body, and has the same strength, speed, and the like, and if that. should change, then Naruto can use an ability called synchronization to fix that. Finally, the connection between all the bodies work both for chakra as well as nourishment, so if one eats something then it's like they all had something to eat. Here is the status and some info on his paths. Some of the things here I have made up myself, and the rest I have learned from things like Narutopedia. First of all, each path, along with their special abilities, has one of the main elements. They will also be able to each use up to 2 sub-elements connected to that element. However, any other kind, even non-elemental jutsu, will be very difficult. It is possible for the path that has the yin-yang element to preform some jutsu and then send it away with the link that all the paths share, allowing them to use it, but only some kinds of jutsu, like for example the henge transform. Also, the one with the yin-yang element can only use one sub-element, but it can anything the user wants. And finally, all of the paths can create the chakra receiver medal. All the paths are dressed in hooded akatsuki-like robes, but without the red clouds, and wearing masks like the umbu. Tendo, Deva path elements. On Mayatan, yin-yang release. Shotan, crystal release. Some of its jutsu. Shinra Tensei, almighty push. Repels everything around the user and has a 5 seconds recharge limit. Also, a overpowered version can be used, but the recharge will take longer. Bansho Tenin, universal pull. Lets the user pull anything towards himself and has a 5 seconds recharge limit. Chibaku Tensei, planetary devastation. Creates a black orb of gravity that is launched into the sky and will then pull the nearby earth, rocks, and anything else to it in order to create it a moon. Shinra Sayatsu, almighty subjugating pressure. Increases the gravity in the area around the user for 10 seconds but has a recharge limit of 1 second time the increase of gravity, max 10 times normal gravity. Made by me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone came up with the same or a similar idea. Yura Shinra Sayatsu, reversed almighty subjugating pressure. Increases and then reverses the gravity in the area around the user for 10 seconds but has a recharge limit of 1 second time the increase of gravity, max 10 times normal gravity. Made by me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone came up with the same or a similar idea. Bansho Hokai, universal collapse. The user grabs the target and creates a small gravity orb inside that starts to pull it in more and more, making the target collapse or implode in upon itself, but the user needs to grab and hold on to the target for 10 seconds. Made by me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone came up with the same or a similar idea. Earth plus fire plus water equals crystal release. Chikashoto, animal path elements. Doton, earth release. Mokuton, wood release. Yoton, lava release. Some of its jutsu. Zafuku Kuchios no Jutsu, amplification summoning technique. This is a summoning technique that in which the summoned creature is given a special condition, and when that condition is met it gains a certain ability. Rokudu Kuchios no Jutsu, 6-path summoning technique. Summons the other paths. Water plus earth equals wood release. Earth plus fire equals lava release. Gakido, Predapath elements. Suetun, water release. Hayaton, ice release. Rantun, storm release. Some of its jutsu. Fujitsu Kyuin, blocking technique absorption seal. A highly advanced sealing technique that is capable of absorbing any chakra, regardless of any shape or nature transformation, and dispersing it within one's body by spinning the chakra within one's body in the opposite direction. As a result, this technique can absorb any ninjutsu-based technique, regardless of power, without harming the user. Should the user get close enough to grab the opponent, the barrier can absorb chakra right out of an individual's body, effectively draining them. Water plus wind equals ice release. Lightning plus water equals storm release. Ninjendo, human path elements. Futon, wind release. Shikuten, scorth release. Jinsukyuden, swift release. Some of its jutsu. Tamashi no Jakjo, removal of soul removal. By placing their hand on a target's head, this technique allows the user to learn everything that the target knows. Once this is done, the target's soul is ripped from their body, killing them, but Naruto's Rinnegan is more advanced, so the Kin chose to let them live. Tamashi no Koken, exchange of souls. The path will grab the heads of 2 individuals, and then switch the mind and souls of the 2, giving them each other's body. Made by me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone came up with the same or a similar idea. Fire plus wind equals Scorth release. Wind plus lightning equals swift release. Shirato, Azura path elements. Rai-tun, lightning release. Baku-tun, explosion release. Jishikuten, magnetic release. Some of its jutsu. Kaiwan no Haya, flaming arrow of amazing ability. The path detaches and fires its hand like a chakra in it will act like a magnet, to draw the hand back for reattachment. It also functions to protect the hand, allowing it to severely damage rock, but not the hand itself. Kaiwandan, flaming arrow missiles. The path pulls out its hand, which is revealed to be connected to the arm by a thick cord with missiles attached to it. The missiles then can be launched, causing massive explosions. These missiles can also come out of the path's body and be launched at the opponents directly with a homing effect. Hikari Bakatsu, light explosion. The path opens up the upper right side of its chest, revealing a cannon of sorts. The cannon then releases a massive blast of chakra in the form of a laser, causing a powerful explosion that devastates the surrounding area. Not made by me, it's just a modified version of Pain's laser explosion. Gehokai Bakudan, self-destruction bomb. The path can, if the need arises, make itself explode with the force of up to 50 explosion tags. Made by me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone came up with the same or a similar idea. Lightning plus earth equals explosion release. Lightning plus earth equals magnetic release. Jigakudo, Naraka path elements. Katan, fire release. Enten, blaze release. Futton, boil release. Some of its jutsu. Yama no Surue Skujing, Yama's kind restoration, can heal others with the Geto as long as they are still alive. Made by me, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone came up with the same or a similar idea. Water plus fire equals boil release. Lightning plus fire equals blaze release. Naruto can also use an ability called synchronization that is very useful when it comes to training physically. For example, if one path trained and became faster while another path's trained and became more flexible, then once the synchronization has been preformed, all the paths would change to match that and have the same speed and agility. And that's the status and info on Naruto's 6 paths. So Naruto is at the moment taking advantage of his new abilities by having the Azura path, traveling fire country hunting down bandits to get real combat experience. The Deva path was training with taijutsu with Geho learned of his eyes and almost shouted it out to the whole village before Naruto made him swear on the flames of youth not to tell anyone, and the Naraka path was at a training field with a bunch of Kagebunshin. He himself was forced to sit here in the academy since Sarutobi had discovered just what it was that has had Naruto so busy that he couldn't visited him or the ramen stand in so long. The Hokage was shocked to say the least when the boy he saw as a second grandson turned out to have the legendary eyes of the Sage of 6 Paths. And while he was happy the boy didn't show everyone in the whole village, he still wished that Naruto would have told him, but done is done, so they decided to keep the Rinnegan secret until it would be a good time to reveal it. After learning of the mind-reading ability of Naruto's human path, the Sandaime made it so it would get a place with the interrogation department, making Ibiki Ome of the few who knows of Naruto's Rinnegan. As for his remaining paths, the Preta path was at Ichiraku eating ramen, and the animal path was in the forest summoning new spies as well as waiting for the already existing ones to come back. However, none of this changes how dull Irika's history lesson is, not to mention he's still getting used to his new mask that he wears, since now the Rinnegan has grown stronger and is now permanently visible even on his second layer, but it still hides the Sharingan part of his eyes along with protected them from things like dust or salt if he was underwater. Also, his mask looks like the one Sojiro Kasaka has in the Bleach movie Diamond Dust Rebellion. How the hell will knowing this stuff help us out the field? What do you think, Hinata? Naruto asks the Hyuga girl right next to him. Well, I guess we can learn from their mistakes and successes, and Naruto-kun. The shy girl answered while growing red at talking with her crush. I would rather do something interesting, like maybe spar with a cute girl like you, Naruto says with a smirk. Hinata didn't answer as she fainted from being called cute by her crush. Luckily, Naruto caught her before she fell off her chair and had her sit in his lap for the rest of the now not so boring lesson. Kit, you're only 6.5 years old and you already have a girl in your arms. I must say that I'm so proud of you. Kyo says with anime tears going down his face while waving flags that says "Go Kit Go" and "Hooray for the perverts in Naruto's mindscape." Naruto just sweat dropped while thinking, why do I get the feeling that most of my teachers are going to be perverts, and somewhere a silver-haired cyclops and a white-haired man dressed like a kabuki dancer sneezed, alerting nearby female to their presence just outside the women's side of the hot spring. They left being less of a man than they were when they came. And that one more chapter anyway. Here is my first omaka. Sneak peek at the all-new Super Ninja show. Naruto was just walking along in the middle of Konoha's marketplace when a sound nin appeared in a puff of smoke, getting the attention of the people. Uzumaki Naruto, my master, has learned of your bloodline limit and wants it, so now I have come to take you to Lord Orochimaru. The sound nin says, apparently not noticing the people around them. Who? Naruto asks in a confused voice. You know Orochimaru, I'm sure you've heard of him, just think a little, the sound nin says. Everyone watched as smoke came out of Naruto's ear and turned into a white TV screen with a loudspeaker on each side. On the screen you can see a clear blue sky with something small flying across it as music starts to play and a voice starts to speak in a dramatic tone. Faster than a Raitun Jutsu, stronger than a mad cow and gayer than a... Okay, there is nothing gayer than him, but anyway it's Captain Pedophile. The voice says as the image zoom in on the small thing in the sky, showing that it is Orochimaru flying like Superman, wearing nothing but his purple underwear and a purple cap. Wherever there are children unmolested, and whenever he thinks he can get away with it, he will be there ready to mentally scar everyone around for life with his inappropriate actions. The voice says as the screen shows Captain Pedophile land in the middle of a kindergarten before shooting out his thong to grab one of the kids there and pull him toward himself, after which he starts to remove the cloths of the kid that looks like a younger Sasuke. Then the screen goes black with the word censored on it in white. Back in Konoha. The TV dissolves into smoke, it disappears, and everyone just stares. Oh yeah, him, Naruto says. It's been almost 2 years since Naruto gained his paths, and since then he has continued to train and improve even more, especially now that he has gained another teacher in the famous Uchiha Itachi, who he met when he visited the Hokage. He has also learned and changed a few things when it come to his paths. The first was that while they can use the Sharingan, they each take chakra just like his original eyes, so having them all use the Sharingan takes such an amount of chakra that even he can't keep them all on for an unlimited time. He also discovered that his paths were unable to use either Genjutsu or Fuinjutsu, which was a shame since the Sharingan combined with the Kurama clan's affinity for illusions that he acquired some time ago would have made an impressive power, but luckily Naruto managed to change his paths so that they could, as well as made it easier for them to use non-elemental and pure chakra-based jutsu. However, he had to remove one of each path's sub-elements to do so, but he felt that it was worth it since they had enough power in the ninjutsu department, so now the only elements the paths can use are Deva path with yin-yang, Animal path has earth and wood, Preta path has water and ice, Human path has wind and swift, Azura path has lightning and magnetism, and Naraka path has fire and scorch. Speaking of paths, 4 of them are outside of Konoha, either hunting down missing nins, training, or looking for useful items and the like, and was rather close to finding one since after training and improving his connection to the Shikisaiken he found out that he could somewhat sense the other 4 tools. He knew it wasn't the Kahaku no Johei, amber purifying pot, since it was the only tool Kumo managed to take back from the Kinjin Kyodai, as the hiding place for the Shikisaiken was found shortly after their death by pure chance, and therefore doesn't count. His main body, however, was in Konoha along with his human and animal paths, who were respectively interrogating people and receiving the reports from the spy summons before going off to train with one of his senseis. He has also assimilated a few new bloodlines such as the Kurama's Illusion Affinity and the Kagaya's Shikatsu Miyaku, Dead Bone Pulse, but it only gave his skeleton higher durability. Still, it was better than nothing. And now Naruto was in the academy, ignoring the lessons he most likely already knew after having his Kagebunshin go wild in the libraries, and instead placed his attention on the scroll on Fuinjutsu that he convinced the Hokage to give him after Kyo talked with Naruto about the Yondaime and felt that having Naruto read some of his father's scrolls would be a good idea. I wonder if that seal I was planning on creating is even possible. Naruto toughed to himself before flinching slightly at the pain of Itachi's fist in the animal path stomach during a spar, but then ignored it as for some reason whenever a path was hurt, he only felt a sixth of the pain. "Naruto, pay attention," came Irika's shout, complete with the giant demon head jutsu. You say something, Irika-sensei?" Naruto asks in bored tone, not even looking up from his scroll, causing the rest of the class to laugh. "Ah, it seems that the dead last is as deaf as he is stupid," came the taunting voice of a dog ninja named Kiba, who disliked Naruto both because he smelled like a fox and because he clearly had Hinata's affection, which Kiba wanted for himself. "Oh, so it was just Kiba trying to sound like he was not the run of the litter. Okay, then it's nothing important," Naruto said while still not looking away from the scroll. Kiba grew red with anger and would have said more if not for Irika telling them to stop it and pay attention. As the class continued, Naruto ignored it like he did with almost everything in the academy, leading to him being ranked as the dead last. Not that it mattered, as it would simply give him an advantage since his opponents would underestimate him. As the time for the academy to end for the day was drawn nearer, Naruto turned to the shy girl next to him. "Hey Hinata-chan, how would you like to train with me after school?" Naruto asked, both because he knew Kiba would hear him and get pissed, and because he himself had developed a crush on the Hyuga princess. Hinata just blushed with a strawberry red color while she nodded, not trusting her voice. Naruto smiled at her response and just sat back and waited for the bell to signal that it was time to leave. Somewhere near the borders of Lightning Country, both the Azura and Naraka paths finally found the place they had been looking for. It was a hidden cave with a large chest inside of it. It didn't take long for them to open it and take the item inside, and as they looked at it, the item started to glow and change form before disappearing into Naruto's mindscape, ending up right beside the Shikasaiken as Naruto continued to connect with another one of the 5 Rakuto Sannin no Hogu, this time it being the Bashozen, Banana Palm Fan. Back at the academy, Naruto just continued to smile. Now if only Kyo could stop sending him images of a naked adult Hinata. And that one more chapter, and soon it will get to the point where the real anime/manga began, and hopefully be a bit easier to write more. Now for the Omaka, the super pervert. Naruto was just sitting in the Hokage's office waiting for him to show up, but then he got bored and started to play around with the Hokage's crystal ball. Suddenly the ball starts to glow and shots out a light that goes out the window and hit the Hokage monument and started to project a giant TV screen on the whole mountain. On the screen shows an image of Captain Pedophile as he was undressing the younger Sasuke when the dramatic voice starts to speak. In the last episode, the great and gay Captain Pedophile was just about to molest a small boy when suddenly Captain Pedophile is engulfed in a bright light and disappears. Somewhere else, Captain Pedophile appears in what looks like an abandoned brothel. "What? Who is responsible for interrupting my fun time?" the mighty Pedophile yells out. "It was I," a voice answered him as a shadowy figure appeared before him. "Who are you?" Captain Pedophile asks, causing the figure to laugh. "Who am I, old friend, do you not recognize me? I am the one, the only the figure begins as the lights comes on, making Captain Pedophile and the figure shout out at the same time. "Super pervert." Yes, he was the white-haired super pervert Jiraiya, wearing nothing but his sandals, a red cape and a pair of really nerdy glasses. Also he had the words "Want some of this?" painted on his chest with an arrow under them pointing at his private parts that were only covered by a green loincloth. "Captain Pedophile, I have called you here to tell you of a great evil that is even now plotting our demise. They have in fact already gotten rid of our comrade, the legendary sucker, by making her sober, so now nobody can take advantage of the fact that she always dreams that she is trying to suck out the last sake in her bottle when she has fallen unconscious from the alcohol," the super pervert says while crying near the end. "By my 8 tentacle penises, what kind of sick and evil monsters would to such a thing?" Captain Pedophile whispers in shock, but the super pervert hears him and answered. "I'm not sure, old friend, but I believe we both know someone who has the answers we seek," the super pervert says as he walks up to something covered in a large sheet. "You are referring to our great and wise teacher, are you not?" Captain Pedophile asks as the super pervert pull away the sheet. "Indeed, the fantastic and horny monkey man, Sarutobi himself. Now get into the pervo mobile," the super pervert yells. "That's just a double-seated bike," Captain Pedophile Deadpants. Air. Well, you see, I kinda spent all my money on porn and hookers. Anyway, let's go. Super Pervert says before he and Captain Pedophile rides out of the brothel and into the sunset. Back in Konoha. A projection ends and Naruto leaves, felling that he can wait till tomorrow to speak with the Hokage. Not a single word was said in all of Konoha for the rest of the day. Here is a list of jutsu I have made myself, but to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if someone already came up with the same or similar ones. Jinsukyuten, Kosuku Hasha, Swift Release, Height Speed Projectile. When this jutsu is used, any projectile that the user fires will gain a light yellow aura and move several times faster than it would normally. Shikuten, Dasui no Sure, Scorch Release. Death by Dehydration. Makes a baseball-sized orange sun appear in the user's hand that he can punch with or throw at the opponent. The sun will evaporate any water that is contained inside whatever it hits. Jishikuten, Jikina Sekai, Magnetic Release. Magnetic World. When this jutsu is used, a low-level magnetic field is created over the area the user is in. This makes all Jishikuten jutsus easier and less taxing to use. Asterisk Rinnegan Hinjutsu on Mayaton. Rinne Bunshins. Rinnegan's secret technique Inyang Release. Samsara Clones. Asterisk. Creates 6 real flesh and blood clones identical to the original. Each of the 6 bodies can only use one element: fire, water, earth, wind, lightning, and Inyang, and 2 of its sub-elements along with their path abilities, and there is no range for how far away the paths can be from the main body. Path Jutsu. The Hokage's Office. It seems that things are just getting worse and worse, aren't they, Itachi-kun? The Sandame asks the raven-haired youth standing in front of him. Sadly, yes, it appears that my clan is not going to change their mind about the coup, not to mention they are suspicious of me and have sent Shursui to keep an eye on me, Uchiha Itachi answered. Well, ain't that a fucking bitch? Naruto said he came into the office without knocking, as usual, scaring the crap out of the 2 older ninjas. Wah, Naruto, how much did you hear, and how are you even here? I told my secretary that I was not to be disturbed. Sarutobi asks while Itachi puts away the kunai he had pulled out when Naruto first entered the room. First of all, I heard everything from it seems to eye on me. Secondly, your secretary never lets me see you, so I ignore her, and thirdly, it's not like I'm unaware of the whole Uchiha-ku thing. Seriously, I have told you about my spies, old man, Naruto answers. Sights. Right, I forgot, Sarutobi says. So, out of curiosity, after the apparently inevitable Uchiha clan's demise, how are you going to deal with the council's most likely demand for a Kakashi wannabe army? Naruto asks while pulling out a candy bar. Kakashi wannabe army? Sarutobi and Itachi both says with a confused tone. Rolls eyes. Yeah. Do you guys really think that once all those Uchihas are dead, someone on the council won't get the bright idea that if every Konoha shinobi has a Sharingan like Kakashi, then Konoha would be able to attack and take over the world or something like that? Naruto asks as he opens up the candy bar. This question made the 2 shinobi think and was mentally kicking themselves for not thinking about that as well. He is correct, Hokage-sama, that is a very likely thing to happen once my clan is dead. Itachi admits, pausing a bit near the end about his family's soon-to-be deceased status. Yes, this causes a problem since any transplant of a Sharingan without the original owner's approval has always led to different mentally problems for the receiver. Sarutobi admits, knowing that the council will ignore that fact and still order the transplants to be made. And I would not have enough time to both put an end to the coup while also making sure all the Sharingans are destroyed, Itachi says. And it's not like I can follow you, take the Sharingans, use the seal on my stomach to pull them into my mindscape, and by doing so keep them out of the wrong hands, as well as use them to help me control the Kyuubi's chakra, not that I would need it with Mr. Giant Furby HEY. And I being on such good terms, but they don't need to know that since it would only give them a heart attack, Naruto says with a sarcastic voice while mentally adding the last part as well as ignoring Kyo's shout of indignity. Picking up on the sarcastic tone and what he really means, both Sarutobi and Itachi first tried to argue but had to agree when Naruto pointed out that there was no one else with the ability to pull stuff into his mindscape that they could turn to. The next day. Today was the day when the Uchiha clan would fall by the hands of one of their own. Naruto, however, was inside of the Uchiha compound of all places, looking at the body of the infamous Shunshin no Shursui of the body flicker. Chuckles softly. I know that it was far from what you intended, but I am grateful for what you did, Shursui. If you hadn't tried to kill me that day, then I doubt I would be anywhere near the level of power I have now. Naruto says as he looks at the unmoving body before continuing. Still, just because I'm grateful doesn't mean that I like or even respect you, but I just wanted to let you know that I'm not doing this out of revenge or because I think you owe it to me. I'm doing it because it's a golden opportunity that I'm simply taking advantage of. Naruto finishes before moving his hand to Shursue's face. Later on, when some clan members come by, they couldn't find anything wrong, but something had changed about Shursui. His eyes were now open and 2 Sharingan eyes could be seen. With Naruto. Hey Kit, Kyo says to get his host's attention. Yes, what is it? Naruto asks as he appears inside his mindscape. Speaking of his mindscape, it no longer looked like sewer, but instead as a large palace with the throne room having 6 statues each holding a large scroll standing behind the throne, which Naruto was sighting in as Kyo laid on a giant pillow in front of him. Why did you give him those eyes after you removed his original ones? Kyo asks lazily. Because I seriously doubt that someone else won't come and try to take those eyes, as out of all the Sharingans in the clan none have that rare and powerful ability. This way we will know thanks to that special little thing that was added to them, Naruto answered. Right, and what was it we added? I kind of forgot, Kyo admits somewhat sheepishly. We will be able to track the eyes and tap into the senses and memories of the one with the eyes, and if need be make the eyes release a poison that will cause blindness, Naruto explains. Suddenly, he hears a girl's voice calling his name and gets up and disappears from his mindscape, ignoring Kyo waving a flag that says, Go Pervo Power! Outside the mindscape, Hinata was blushing as she gently shook her crush in order to wake him. Yes, Hina-chan, Naruto asks, enjoying the cute face she make when she hears the nickname. I was wondering what we would be practicing today, and Naruto-kun. The shy Hyuga shuddered out, causing Naruto to smile, as she is just too cute for him not to. Oh, nothing too big a deal, just some taijutsu, a little bit of chakra control, but first we're gonna fix that shyness of despite how cute it make you look, Naruto says to the blushing girl. But how will you what are you
Deduya.
Whatever she was trying to say was drowned by the sound of her laughing, as Naruto had pinned her down and was now tickling her, and it just so happens that she was very ticklish. Now then, if you want me to stop, you're gonna need to promise to be more confident, courageous, and be me girlfriend, Naruto says with smirk. Waha, I can't just haicha, okay, ahaha, I promise, ahahaha. Hinata manages to yell out, making Naruto stop tickling and get of her. What was all that about? Hinata demands while actually giving Naruto a glare. Just a cure for your shyness, Naruto responds with a happy tone. A cure? That's what you call that torture? It was far from a cure, it worked. Hinata says, shocked as she notices that her shuddering was gone. Yep, even if I find your shuddering to be super cute, your voice is just as beautiful without it, and now it is easier to hear what my girlfriend is saying, Naruto said, enjoying the look on Hinata's face when she hears him say girlfriend and recalls that she did in fact promise to be his girlfriend during the whole tickling thing. You want me to be your girlfriend? You like me? Hinata asks, shocked that her feelings for her crush would be returned even before she had a chance to confess them in the first place. Laugh softly. Kafu fu 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 Hina-chan, if you would look up that you can see the answer yourself, Naruto says. And yes, I gave him Rokudo Mukuro laugh from Katekyo Hitman Reborn, cause both since both are awesome. Hinata was confused but looked up anyway, and her eyes went wide and her jaw dropped as somehow the few only clouds in the sky can form themselves so that you could read. Naruto plus Hinata equals love forever. In short, Naruto had somehow written a love letter in the freaking sky. Hinata just stood there and stared until she let out a loud eep sound when Naruto sat down, pulling her with him, making her sit in his lap. Now then, how about we just talk for a bit, get to know each other a bit better, Naruto says. Hinata just nodded since she just couldn't seem to form any words at the moment. Back at the Uchiha compound. Standing next to Shirsue's body was an old man covered mostly in bandages, and behind him 2 Umbu with blank masks. Shunshin no Shirsue, you may have sided with you traitorous clan, but from now on your power will be put to good use, as now your Sharingan belongs to the true Hokage of Konoha. The man says as the 2 Umbu picks up the body and leaves a fake in its place before all of them disappears with puffs of smoke. And one more chapter is now done, just 1 or 2 chapters left before my story reaches the point where the real manga/anime started. If you ignore that I've changed things like that, they are 14 when they graduates. Sorry, but it will take a bit longer until I can make another Captain Pedophile Oamka, since I have a small writer's block about it, but maybe next chapter, so until then this will have to do. We find ourselves in front of a large stage with a large TV screen behind it. Suddenly an Edo Tensei coffin appears out of the stage floor and opens up to reveal Jin Ikamaru from Bleach. Hello everyone, Mr. Sage of Fanfiction has summoned me here today in order to tell you about Air. Pulls out a script and starts to read. The 2 treasured tools in Naruto-kun's possession, the Shikasaiken and the Bashozen. Jin says as said tools appear on the screen. First of all, as a result of having the Rinnegan, Naruto both can and has formed a connection with these 2 items, allowing him to store them inside his soul and summon them whenever he wants, as well as change the form and appearance of the tools finally. He can also use their full power, and not just the standard that everybody else uses. Of course, the tools still suck a large amount of chakra. Luckily, Naruto has plenty to spare. Jin says before continuing. Now then, point at the normal version of the sword on the screen. The Shikasaiken looks like a broad and flat sword. By saying the verbal command curse, it can be used to sever the word soul of those struck by the Kokinjo, golden canopy rope, allowing the soul to be sucked into the Benihiseigo, crimson gourd. Completing these conditions curses the victim. If they utter the word they have said the most during their life, they will be sucked into and trapped within the Benihiseigo for eternity. Whatever this word is will be inscribed onto the Shikasaiken's blade. The wielder can fold the blade to prevent the victim from seeing what it is. If their most used word changes at any point, the inscribed word will be updated, Jin says, after which he points at the new version of the sword. After connecting with Naruto-kun, the Shikasaiken turned into a completely different kind of sword and had 6 more curses added to it. 5 of these new curses, however, take a good bit of chakra to use, and they can only be used once before they needs to be recharged, which happens automatically at the end of every week. It is not possible to put more than 1 curse on the same victim at the same time. Also, if the victim is strong enough when they are cursed, then it won't be permanent, and the more powerful the victim, the shorter the time of the curse will be, Jin says before moving on to the fan. Now when it comes to the Bashozen, it is rather simple. It is a large fan that is able to generate all 5 of the basic elemental chakra natures. To do so, the user need only say a mental command, which produces substantial amounts of the desired element when the fan is waved. But now that Naruto has connected to it, the Bashozen has taken the form of a smaller, more formal kind of fan. Think Tamari's fan, but smaller, so it can easily be held in one hand. Instead of metal, it is a dark brown, almost black wood, and instead of the 3 moons, it is completely forest green on the inside, and can now create waves almost anything like clouds of poison and angry bees to chocolate pudding and monkey shit. Finally, it also has the power to blow away close to anything, so with just a wave of the fan, it is possible to remove any genjutsu and even push back a tsunami. Of course, each time it is used, it take a bit of chakra with the amount depending on what you use the N for, but it's worth it. Jin finishes as the Edo Tensei coffin comes and pulls him in before starting to disappear again. Oh my, it seems we're out of time, so until next time, bye-bye, came Jin's voice from the coffin just before it disappeared completely. Night of the Uchiha clan's end. Death. Death, and oh, look, more death. Yeah, not the prettiest thing in the world, but Naruto forced himself to ignore it as he removed the eyes from one of the dead Uchihas before forming 2 one-handed seals. Asterisk Kekaten. Mune no Hashing, barrier release. Chest of preservation. Asterisk Naruto says as the eyes are encased in a transparent box that looks like it's made out of blue glass before he moves them to his stomach and they disappears with a small flash of light into the seal. Impressive. Is it some kind of bloodline limit of the Uzumaki clan? Itachi inquires as he wipes the blood of his sword. Does the same with another pair of eyes. No, the Uzumaki's bloodline limit was their special chakra that among other things gave them their longevity. Naruto answers while mentally adding, but it is the limit of a now most likely extinct clan from Kiri. When they left the no-deceased Uchiha couple's home, Naruto had one of his path take the family's 3-year-old daughter to a small new orphanage that had been built a week ago, where he placed a seal that would alter her appearance on her before removing the genjutsu that keep her asleep. After that, he used his Sharingan to suppress her memories of being an Uchiha so that when a matron was appointed they wouldn't say anything. This was something he has been doing a lot this night. "How many are left, Itachi-sensei?" Naruto asks the soon-to-be missing Nin. "Just my family," Itachi answers as his indifferent face broke for a second. "You know, if you want I can do it for this time," Naruto says while trying to keep his face and voice indifferent. "No, this is my mission and you shouldn't have to stain your hands with blood because of me," was Itachi's answer. After that, they prosed to go to Itachi's house, but when they arrived they heard voices and the sound of struggling. "Fugaku, why are you doing this?" a woman's voice cried out in panic. "Because I need those eyes to lead the clan to its rightful place as the clan of gods. With them I will be a true Uchiha just like Madara-sama," was a man answer, and by now Itachi was sure it was his parents fighting in there. As he entered, he was greeted by the sight of Fugaku stabbing a sword into Makoto's chest, after which his eyes changed into what looked like a black pyramid made from 3 smaller ones. Think the Triforce from the Legend of Zelda game. Yes. With these eyes I have become a go. Fugaku's mad rant was cut short as Itachi's sword came out his chest. "With those eyes you've become nothing but a monster now. Burn in hell, father," Itachi says, spitting out the word father as if it was poison. Cough. Itachi yu trado dash. His word ended as his head was removed from his body by Itachi. Some time later, Naruto watched as Itachi used the Tsukuyomi on his little brother. "That's gonna seriously fuck up his mind," Naruto mentally says. "No kidding, like most Uchihas weren't already messed up in the head." Kyo agrees while eating popcorn as he watched the whole thing. As this was happening, 2 of Naruto's paths had just finished altering Mikoto's memories and appearance so that she would have no problems being the matron of the orphanage with the Uchiha children after the Hokage fixed the paperwork needed for it all. Once Sasuke was unconscious, Naruto went up to Itachi. "Was going Tsukuyomi on his ass really necessary?" Naruto asks while looking at the mentally scared child. Eyes widens. "Hide, he is coming," Itachi says quickly, making Naruto pre-foam 5 seals, causing a light green Tranquerat cylinder-shaped barrier to surround him before they both disappears. A few moments later, a man in a orange spiral mask appears. "Well done, Itachi-kun. Now then, there is just one thing left to do before you go to aim and join Akatsuki. Here," the masked man says as he tosses a small flask to Itachi, who catches it. "Use that to release the seals that I have placed in the Uchiha shrine, so that little Sasuke may learn more about the Mangekyo Sharingan. After that, come to aim. I will be waiting for you," the man orders before disappearing in a strange vortex. A couple of seconds later, Naruto reappears. "So that was him. Fucking Madara Uchiha himself," Naruto says as he ignores the string of insults and curses that Kyo is letting out. "Yeah, that was him," Itachi confirms. "Mind if I tag along to the shrine and check it out?" Naruto asks while sending some of his paths to the few remaining Uchiha bodies that he did take the eyes from, since he was busy with taking their children to the orphanage instead. "Sure, why not?" Itachi answers. At the Uchiha shrine. "Wow, an entire shrine for just 1 book," Naruto deadpants as he entered the shrine. Itachi and Naruto read the book and were surprised at the powers of the Mangekyo. Not only that, but Itachi was able to read about the eternal Mangekyo due to his eyes, and unknown to him, Naruto was able to read it as well thanks to his Rinnegan. Just as they were leaving, Naruto noticed something. "Hey Itachi, throw me the flask with Madara's blood for a second," Naruto says, making Itachi throw it over to him. After that, Naruto walked up to the wall behind the book and swiped a bit of the blood over the Sharingan symbol on it. The wall moved aside and revolved a stone table. Itachi quickly discovered that he could for some reason read more of it when he had the Mangekyo active, and while he was busy translating and writing down the words on it, Naruto drank some of the blood in the flask, which caused Kyo to give of several spitting and coughing sounds. "Okay, I'm done. Take this to the Hokage and goodbye." Also, Naruto gains a small smile. Thank you for saving my mother and the children, Itachi says before disappearing into the night. Goodbye, Itachi-sensei, Naruto whispers after him for leaving to report to the Hokage, but as he leaves he frowns as the paths that he had sent to the Uchihas that still had there I couldn't find the bodies. Meaning someone else must have taken them. The Hokage's office. So a few of the bodies were not found? Sarutobi asks as he reads the partly translated text of the stone tablet. There were 3 bodies missing, but I'm not sure who it was that took them at the moment, Naruto answers. Still, you did good, especially when it came to Mikoto and the children, so you have more than earned your reward. So is there anything particular you would like? Sarutobi asks the masked blonde. Ask for that jutsu. Ask for that jutsu. Ask for that jutsu. Kyo repeated in Naruto's head over and over again. I would like for one of the jutsu in the Forbidden Scroll, Naruto says, making Kyo shut up. Wah, how do you? Oh, right, your little animal spies, Sarutobi says, annoyed, before going to get the scroll, all while mumbling about how S-ranked secrets are not to be known to academy students. Here, chose one, and if it's not to Dangeros, then you may learn it, Sarutobi says as he hands Naruto the scroll. Sweat drops. So you keep Konoha's most dangerous jutsu scroll here in your offense without any kind of security seals, meaning if nobody's here someone can just take it and leave just like that? Naruto deadpans before opening the scroll while Sarutobi just stands there blinking as he goes over what Naruto just said. It wasn't long until Naruto had come close to the end of the scroll, an annoyed look on his face even if he was grinning like a maniac in the inside since his Sharingan was memorizing everything. The full name of the scroll is Konoha's Forbidden Scroll of Seals, yet there is only 3 jutsu in this scroll that actually involves seal. Seriously, old man, were the past Hokages drunk or something when they named this thing? Naruto asks as he come to the end of the scroll. Sight? I don't know, Naruto-kun. Now please just pick a jutsu already, says Sarutobi. I chose one of the only 3 jutsu that has to do with seals, Naruto says, making Sarutobi worry, since those the jutsu were the Yura Shisho Fuin Jutsu, reverse 4 symbols sealing technique, that the user places across their chest and sets it to activate upon their death. The technique then releases 4 symbols from the user's body that then form a large, black sphere around them. Anything caught inside the sphere's area is then drawn in and sealed within the user's corpse. The Shiki Fujin, dead demon consuming seal, the seal that summons the Shinigami himself in order to seal something at the cost of the user's soul. And the Kuchios, Edo Tensei, summoning impure world resurrection, that brings back the dead to serve the user, and most frightening of all about it is that besides the need for human sacrifice there are no weaknesses. All of these were very powerful, not mentioned dangerous. Which one? Sarutobi asks, shocked that Naruto would want any of them. That's an easy question, the one that doesn't involve me dying, the Edo Tensei, Naruto answers. Very well, Sights, listen Naruto, that jutsu is very powerful and is not to be used recklessly, Sarutobi says, making Naruto nod. Got old man, no using it for small and trivial things, Naruto says. You promise? Sarutobi asks, making Naruto hold up his fist but with his pinky extended. Pinky promise, Naruto answers, making Sarutobi blink, before reminding himself that Naruto was still an 8-year-old boy despite what he can do and has done. Smiles, pinky promise, Sarutobi says as he bring up his pinky in the same way. Somewhere else. I'm sorry, Danzo-sama, but I can still feel, even if barely, that you are using the Sharingan to influence my thought and actions, an Umbu member with a blank mask says as he stood before the bandaged man. Damn it, why isn't it stronger and is supposed to be impossible to detect? Is it because it is transplanted, or did we pick one of the normal ones instead of Shursue's? The man, now identified as Danzo, growls before regaining control of his emotions and turning to 2 of his Umbu. It will have to do, but I can't take the risk of using it on a shinobi above low Chunin or anyone else that might be able to tell that they are being influenced by it. Now you go prepare the surgery room, I want my new arm as soon as possible, he says before leaving, while mentally seething over the fact that his eye is not working like it should. With Naruto inside his mindscape. Hey Kyo, what exactly are you doing with all those eyes anyway? Naruto asks as he looks at all the small chests with Sharingan floating around the room. Well, a third of them am going to try and turn into Mangekyo, and after that eternal Mangekyo Sharingans, which won't be too hard now that we have Madara team's blood along with the Mangekyos of that wife-stabbing asshole. Kyo explains before continuing. Another third of them am going to turn into Rinnegan's since I've done it before. It shouldn't be too hard, but it will take a while, Kyo says. What about the remaining ones? Naruto asks confused. I'm going to try and turn them into missing links, Kyo answers. Missing links? Naruto repeats, even more confused. Kyo waves one of his tails and the image of a man appears. This is the elder brother of the sage's 3 children. Now take a look at his eyes, Kyo says, and when Naruto looks he sees that while they are appear smiler at first, they are different from the Rinnegan. The Rinnegan has multiple circles in a ripple-like pattern. These eye, however, just had a single spiral swirling out from the center. The abilities of the Rinnegan and Sharingan are almost completely different, and while his children got the Sharingan he had neither the it nor the Rinnegan. So just imagine what kind of abilities his eyes could have had, Kyo says, and Naruto couldn't help but agree. Speaking of Sharingans, have you put all the different DNAs we collected from the Uchiha clan in the storage room? Naruto asks the fox who was tinkering with a pair of eyes at the moment. Of course, all of them named and categorized just like I've done with all the other DNA samples that we collected from those that interest us, Kyo answers while using one of his tails to point into a different room filled with a large amount of red flasks, each having a small paper tag tied to them. Smirks, wonderful kafu fu fu fu, Naruto says as he lets out his eunuch laugh. And that one more chapter. Sorry, I'm still having trouble coming up with another Captain Pedophilomaka, so I'm just going to write this instead. Kiba gets lots of bitches. Kiba, I have had it with you constant attempts at getting Hinata, so now I'm going to do something I should have done the moment I found out what a horn dog you are, Naruto says angrily as he pulls out the Shikaseiken and makes a shallow cut in Kiba's arm with it. Beast curse, he says, and before Kiba even knows what's going on he has been turned into a brown version of Akamaru. Naruto quickly pick up Kiba and a flask before throwing them into the Inuzuka kennels, more specifically the part where all the female dogs are. And the flask contained a powerful liquid ash product that turns into a gas when it comes into contact with air. 7 years later, the long-lost Kiba reappears and Inuzuka Tsum learns that she has over 2 dozen grandchildren, or in this case grandpups. Konoha Academy. Graduating day, Naruto and the rest are now 14. Now then, I will call your name and you will come into the examination room, first Akira Kidash. At that point the Naruto clone stopped paying attention to Irika and instead concentrated on the scroll that he was writing down, a jutsu that Naruto had been working on. It was a Kekaten jutsu. It was made with the Uzumaki special chakra that had been mixed with the Mokutan, making it something that even Kyo at his very best would have some serious trouble with. It was named Kekaten, Jikuken Kekai, Hatting Shibajaku no Mushosuke, Barrier Release, Space, Time Barrier, 8-point entrapment of independence, and would create a transparent bright red cube the size of a fist. The cube would then be fired towards whatever the target is. The cube is intangible and the user can change its size however and whenever he wishes. Once the cube has reached the target, the user can activate it, making it turn dark green and solid. Anything caught inside of the cube when it turns solid gets frozen in time. When solid, the users can still change the size of the cube and whatever is in it will change size along with it, and finally it is completely indestructible. The reason for this jutsu's creation was to help gather something that Naruto had figured would be very useful when it came to getting stronger, even since he learned a little something from Kyo. Speaking of the fox, he had been able to further improve Naruto's eyes in a few ways. The first was that more of the Byakugan's abilities was successfully added, so now Naruto's eyes has both the Byakugan's telescopic vision and its X-ray vision, so now Naruto can see through people's cloths, and of course Kyo did this as soon as Naruto entered puberty. The second thing collided with Naruto's eyes was giving the Rinnegan a boost by fusing one of the new pairs of Rinnegans that he had made with them. As a result, his paths can now use more elements and most likely other things, but Kyo and Naruto wasn't sure yet. Kyo hasn't done that much else since he has been busy experimenting with all the eyes that was collected during the Uchiha clan slaughter. However, while the clone was working on the new jutsu, The real Naruto was at the back of the classroom making Hinata a target of envy for all the girls in the class since after she and Naruto became a couple he has been spoiling her almost every day, something the rest of the girls envied since the first school day after they got together. Flashback. 6 years ago. Day after becoming a couple. Jiro Gamazo? Arika called out. Here, a unimportant kid answered. Hinata Hyuga. Arika called out. More Naruto-kun, please. Give me more, came Hinata's voice, making everyone turn their attention to the back of the class. There were 3 things that everyone quickly noticed. Their first was that Naruto had changed his clothes as well as removed his mask as he now hid his Rinnegan with a genjutsu connected to a small seal behind his right ear. Now Naruto wears a pair of black combat pants, a dark blue t-shirt and a coat similar to the one that the Yondaime had but black instead of white. The flames are blue and there is nothing written on the back. The second was that Hinata was sitting in his lap with his arm around her and placing soft kisses on her neck. And finally in front of them there was a glass bowl with ice cream and strawberries and Hinata was trying to bite the strawberry that Naruto was holding right in front of her. What are you two doing? Asks an annoyed Irika. Enjoying ourselves, after all, since Hina-chan has agreed to be my girlfriend, I'm going to treat her like a good boyfriend should. Naruto answered as he let go of the berry in order not to lose his fingers to Hinata's teeth. What? No. Hinata is mine, you dead last. A furious Kiba yells as he stand up. Really? That's odd since I asked Hinata what she wanted and she dash. Naruto began but was cut off as Kiba lunged at the couple. It doesn't matter. I'm the alpha here and Eve chosen her to be my bitch. She belongs to me. Kiba yells out as he moved forward, but he was brought to a halt as glowing blue chains burst from the floor, binding him and forcing him on his knees. Everybody was shocked both by Kiba's outburst as well as the chains appearing, but a shiver of cold went down their spines as they heard Naruto, who had his head down, hiding his eyes from view and had a cold blue aura around his body. Belongs to you? You're the alpha? You have chosen her? Kiba, you really have gone and seriously pissed me off now. I mean, your previous actions and comments I could let slide, but saying things like this as if women are nothing but object for men to play around with now that holds out his hand, is really, cleanses his hand into a fist. Something the chains tightens. Well, not, the chains tightens to the point where they start to cut into the flesh and break bones. Tolerate, Naruto says with voice that could probably freeze hell itself. And Naruto, that enough, I handle it from here, Irika shout out before one of his students dies. The chains disappears. Very well, just make sure he learns his lesson. Naruto says, and once Irika and Kiba were out of the before holding a spoon with ice cream in front of Hinata. Now that the mutt is gone, shall we continue, Hina-chan? Naruto asks, but then notices that the whole class was looking at him, causing him to raise an eyebrow. What? Flashback end. After that, Kiba would only glare at Naruto and the girls would glare at Hinata while wishing that they had a boyfriend that would spoil, love and stand up for them. That fact that Naruto had matured and grown into a really handsome young man only made it worse, especially since all attempts to steal him from Hinata had failed. Soon Irika and his assistant Mizuki came in and the Genin exams started. I'm skipping the exams, it's just the standard Mizuki tries and fails to sabotage the exams thing. After the exams, Naruto attached his forehead protector to the middle of his belt before heading home after taking a look at the others who passed. Everyone is wearing their Shinpuden cloths exempt Naruto, whose hair now has grown down to his shoulders. After getting home and entering his father's house that he had moved into a few years back, Naruto sat down and went over some of the most important things that he had learned over some time. 1. His spies had seen and collected more jutsu and bloodline limits. 2. He had a make-out session with Hinata in the school closet. 3. He had come up with a few ideas that would greatly help increase Konoha's power. 4. The Hokage approved of the ideas and would support him when they were ready. 5. His spies had seen and collected even more jutsu and bloodline limits and also learned the location of several items that could prove useful. 6. He had another make-out session with Hinata in the school closet. 7. A civilian asshole pissed him off, so he killed him and blew up his house. 8. He managed to tap into his bobby-trapped eye and found out about Danzo. 9. His spies had learned about a few of the other Jinchuriki. 10. Kyo had made a few breakthroughs with the eyes. 11. Gai-sensei could no longer train him since he had taken up a genin team. 12. His spies had learned more interesting things. 13. He had another make-out session with Hinata in the school closet, and this time she removed her jacket and showed him her breasts. 14. Learned more about Danzo. The last one was something that actually had Naruto worried. He never believed that Danzo would experiment on his Sharingan, but he had, and as a result of constant training it and injecting some of Shusui's DNA into it, he had managed to give it the ability he wanted. It was not as strong as the original, but almost. Naruto, however, put those toughs aside and went to bed so that this body and this brain could rest while he focused on the other paths, since while having 7 brains really lessens the mental strain, it didn't remove it completely, so he had to rest with each body every now and then. With the Deva path. The Deva path, which I shall call Naruto from now on, was at the moment doing his best to dodge the flaming chakra tails of the Nibi after he refused to hand over the Benihiseigo, Crimson Gourd, that he had found hidden just outside the borders of Lightning Country, to a Kumanin, whom she seems to have almost complete control over her Biju. Did she force the Nibi to help her, or are they like me and Kyo? Well, it doesn't matter, it's time to test that jutsu, Naruto said in his head as he started making hand seals. Kekaten, Jikuken Kekai. Hatting Shibojaku no Mushosuk, Naruto whispered before he shoot 5 red cubes at the flaming cat. All of the cubes hit and phased into the Nbai before growing larger. Now both of the Nbai's front legs, its right back leg, one of its tails, and a big piece of the left side of its chest were encased in the cubes. Makes a hand seal. Activate. Naruto says, making the cubes turn green, and the Nbai scream as large parts of it was cut off by the barriers. The Nbai falls down and fades away, leaving the Kumanin unconscious. Naruto, after taking a small DNA sample, uses his eyes to modify her memories and leaves a small spy in the form of a bug in her hair. After that, Naruto shrinks the cubes with the parts of Biju inside of them and sends them into his mindscape along with the Benihiseigo before he disappeared in a puff of smoke, since the animal paths used the summoning jutsu to transport him. With the animal path in Water Country. Badaba do do do, and another one bites the dust, and another one bites the dust. Animal sang quietly as one of the rebels was crushed under the Mizuki's giant foot in his Biju form. It was then Deva appeared in a puff of smoke. The 2 paths watched as the Kage turned giant turtle squashed a few more people, 2 of which was on his side. With the Sanbai and rebels. Don't give up. Take him down, a rebel shouted before he was hit by a water bullet. It was then a dragon made from lava slammed into Yagura the Mizuki. Asterisk Yotan. Yokai, lava release. Melting apparition. Asterisk the rebel leader calls out before releasing a large amount of lava from her mouth into the air above the Mizuki, which then fell down on him. But since it fell on his back when Ha had the form of a demon turtle, yeah, not all that effective. The attack did, however, anger him, causing him to swipe one of his tails at the one who attacked him. It was, however, in that moment that the 2 paths decided to join in by having Deva created more of the cubes and fire them at the Mizuki. The Mizuki, however, ignored attack from the most likely Bo-Tate, defense shield, clan member, since none of its previous members could harm him, and that it what cost him this time. 2 cubes entered his chest, for other encased 2 tails and half of his third one. The last 3 cubes surrounded his front left leg, so when the cubes activated, it was only his large size that saved his life, but he was forced to flee. The rebels cheered as the Mizuki retreated, and the rebel leader walked up to the Deva path, who had just sent the cubes into his mindscape. Thank you, I am Mei Terumi, as I'm sure you know. I'm also surprised to see one of your clan, since I heard they were all killed 2 months ago. That is, unless you're from the branch family that left Kiri during the Shodame Mizuki's time. Mei says as she looks at the masked and cloaked figure. Laugh like Makoro? Kafu fu fu. I hate to disappoint, but I'm not from that clan at all. I simply have similar abilities, and while I would love to stay and talk with such a beautiful woman, I'm running late for some other things. So until we meet again, goodbye, asterisk Kiriheim. Miss Princess? Deva says before disappearing in a cloud of smoke, leaving a blushing May behind. With the Deva and animal paths. The two paths were moving towards the borders of water country when a pulse of chakra caught their attention. Following it, they found two people fighting just outside what looked like an abandoned building. "Just give up, old man, and tell me where the scroll is," said a middle-aged man with black hair as he slashed with his sword at the old man that looked like he was over 100 years old. "Ah, like I would let a little gaki like you get his hands on it. It was entrusted to me by the Naide Mizukic himself," the old man says as he blocks the sword with his staff before pulling out a kunai that he with lightning-fast speed stabbed into the younger man's chest. But when that happened, the man's jacket opened up, revealing several explosion notes. Boom! The man exploded, and the old man was sent flying into a tree, breaking bones and getting knocked out. Naruto was thinking of what to do. On one hand, he leave the old man and could search the building for the obviously important scroll. On the other hand, he could help the old man instead. Some time later, the old man named Yanasho woke up and found that he had bandages warped around his body. "I see you are awake," said Naruto as he entered the room. "Not that I'm ungrateful, but who are you?" Yanasho asked the masked stranger. "Sadly, I can't tell you my real name since it would cause trouble for me if people knew who I am, so just call me Deva," Naruto answered as he sat down in a chair beside the bed. "You know I sensed you were there hiding while I was fighting. That means you heard about the scroll, so why didn't you try to find and take it?" Yanasho asks as he sits up. Shrugs his shoulder. "I guess I just didn't feel like it. By the way, what's your name?" Naruto asks. "Yanasho. Yanasho Kurenami, former captain of Kiri's Umbu and good friend of the Naide Mizukic," Yanasho answered as he got up and went over to a chest in the corner of the room. Opens the chest. "The one that blew himself up outside was my great-grandson Yenago. He wanted the scroll I had, believing that simply reading the jutsu in it would automatically make him as strong as the Mizukiges. That baka gaki," Yanasho said sadly as he took out a large scroll from the chest. "This is the true forbidden scroll of Kiri. The one in the Mizukige's office is a special copy. Any jutsu added to it gets added to this one as well, and should that scroll be taken out of the office, then it will turn to dust. This is so that it wouldn't be stolen," Yanasho explained as he rolled out the scroll in front of Naruto. "As payment for your help, and because you remind me of my old friend with that ignoring power, because you don't feel like it attitude, I will let you learn a jutsu from the scroll, but only one, so chose wisely," Yanasho says as he sits down on the bed. Naruto nods and start to throw the scroll, and after a while, without looking up, he says, "Hey Yanasho, I can't help but notice that many of these are for different Kekkei, Genkai, and clans. When the scroll was made by the Shodan Mizukage, he felt that all powerful or dangerous jutsu should be added. So, while each of the Mizukages and other Kirinins that have shown great skill have added at least one jutsu, many clans did the same, mostly as a way to show their power, and they didn't need to fear of the jutsu they added being stolen, since either a Kekkei Genkai or special training was needed to use them," Yanasho explained. It didn't take long for Naruto to reach the end of the scroll and had with that memorized everything in it. "Okay, I have made my chose, and it is the Haisui Suijin, Draining Water God," Naruto said, making Yanasho copy the jutsu onto another scroll, which he then gave to Naruto. "The Shodan Mizukage's favorite. Very well, also try not to use it until all this bloodline purging foolishness is over, and I have told the one who's leading Kiri about you knowing it, since that might otherwise lead to trouble for you," Yanasho said as he took the larger scroll and put it back in its chest. "I'll try. Goodbye, Yanasho-san," Naruto said before leaving. "Hey, what an interesting young man. Who was he again?" Eyes widen in shock. "Oh no, I'm going senile," Yanasho cried out in despair. With the Preta Path. Naruto's Preta Path had just finished taking down a bandit camp near the border between Fire and Grass Country. But most of the bandits were still alive. What the hell are you planning to do to us, you masked freak?" one of the tied-up bandits demanded to know. Laughed slightly. "Kafu-fu-fu. Why, I'm going to put your corrupt souls to good use with the help of a little something called Edo Tensei." And when the bandits heard this, for some reason they felt fear unlike any they ever felt before. Inside Naruto's mindscape, while all kind of things were happening outside. Kyo was busy tinkering with all the eyes. But at the moment he was laughing like a madman. Ah! Yes, I have done it, ha ha! He shouted out in triumph as his attention was focused on the eyes in front of him. Gray eyes with a spiral. The Namikaze house. Naruto was at the moment watching an epic battle between two warriors in another reality. As for how he can do this, it is because he had the Missing Link eyes fused into his own, and its abilities added to his already existing ones now lets him see into other worlds. This has been useful in many ways, such as trying to recreate some of the moves used in the other worlds, as well as getting ideas for books and the like. Yeah, Naruto is an author, and a very famous one, since his first hit, a romance novel called Whispers in the Dark, which was just one of many good books he has written. However, none of that is important at the moment, since it is time for Naruto to get to the team selection, so he heads towards the academy while thinking about the spy he had managed to sneak into the Akatsuki. With said spy, we find ourselves with Naruto's spy, a man in a black and red battle kimono and covered in a good amount of bandages, who is at the moments is creeping out his comrades by staring at them with his rather large eyes. He looks just like Kaguro from Kekaishi. Kaguro was very happy. In fact, he can honestly say that the gods themselves must have blessed him or something. After all, he has been given a good amount of power, a form of immortality, a chance to make a name for himself, and most important of all, a chance to fight powerful opponents, and all he had to do was get killed by the one that would become his boss. Kaguro was born in a small country far away from any place with ninjas, but for some reason when he was born his chakra was already unlocked. He quickly discovered this and used it to make himself one of the best swordsmen in the country. However, as time went by and his skills grew less and less, people were able to give him a good fight, which in turn denied him that wonderful feeling he gets when facing worthy opponents. In the end, he became insane, something even he himself realized after killing of all the samurai, material artist, or anyone that could fight at all in the whole country. It didn't take long for him to realize that if he wants a good fight, that why not find someone that can use chakra as well, and with that he left his home country and headed towards the land of shinobi. After traveling for a long time, killing of groups of bandits or travelers here and there, and sometimes a shinobi or chakra using samurai, he finally arrived in the land of fire, where the greatest of the 5 shinobi villages could be found. It was then he met his future boss and his own very quick death. Sure, he knew that ninjas could do some seriously freaky shit, but he still didn't expect a blonde-haired brat that could create metal spikes from nothing and control gravity of all things to crush him into the ground, nail him there with the spikes, offer him a job, and then call down a lightning bolt on him when he agreed. And that was how Kaguro ended up working for Naruto, and it was the best idea ever. After all, when he was Edo summoned, 3 other tags was placed into him along with the control seal. These 3 tags are the reason for a large amount of his increased power, since one infused him with the swift element, giving him unmatched speed. The other tag lets him use the steel element, but he mostly only uses it to create swords. The final tag, however, he had no idea what it is for, but he really doesn't care. After that, he worked as a bounty hunter, both in order to learn more about his new abilities and improve his skills, as well as make a name for himself so that the Akatsuki would want him to join them, and eventually they did. He has been in the Akatsuki for 2 months now, but has no partner since he keeps killing them, so he works solo and maybe sometimes with Kakuzu and Haiden since he can't kill those 2. But he has done his job as a spy and learned a great deal about the Akatsuki and its members and their abilities. He had even taken a few samples during a couple of spars. Yes, there is no doubt that Jashin, damn it, stop fucking staring at me, you fucking weirdo. Haiden yells as he can't stand the constant staring, completely ignoring that he just interrupted the leader when he was telling them their mission. Kaguro simply grins before turning his head and starts to stare at Kisame, who does his best to ignore his fellow swordsman, and fails miserably. Back with Naruto. Team 7 will be Naruto, Sakura and Sasuke under Kakashi. Team 8 will be Hinata, Shino and Kiba under Kurenai. Team 9 is still active, and Team 10 will be Ino, Shikamaru and Choji under Asuma. Please wait for your Jonin instructor to come and pick you up now. Goodbye and good luck. With that, Irika left in order to help the Hokage with something. Things were rather normal for the Genins as they waited. Naruto, who had discarded his coat and now had a green vine-like tattoo on his arm, was feeding Hinata a cinnamon bun while they were being glared at by several people. Fangirls were fighting over Sasuke. Shikamaru and Choji was doing what they do best, sleeping and eating, and that was pretty much it. Suddenly Naruto froze for a second, something that Hinata noticed, but he just smiled, so she just passed it of and returned to eating. Reason Naruto froze. Naruto's human and Preta paths were at the moment following a small group of missing Nins that were inside Konoha of all places. The group was made up of Nins from IWA, Taki, Kumo, and a missing Kiri Nin as their leader. They were at the moment hiding in the forest of death while trying to decide what to do with the two children they kidnapped. These two being the Hokage's grandson Konohamaru and Hinata's little sister Hanabi. Kumo has been after the Byakugan for years and would pays anything to get their hands on an unmarked Hyuga, and IWA is still pissed about losing the war, so either one of those villages would pay us big time for these two. The Kiri Nin says, ignoring the protests from the two from said villages. "Hey, let us go, damn it!" shouted the Hokage's grandson, who had managed to somehow remove the mouth gag he had. "Fucking brat, what will it take to shut you up?" the Kiri Nin growled. "I will be quiet and stop struggling if you promise to let the girl you kidnapped go," Konohamaru says, earning a shocked look from said girl, and laughs from the Nins. "Yeah, right, not happening, brat. You and your little girlfriend are our pay-irk." Whatever the Taki Nin was gonna says, as silenced by a metal pike was impaled into his mouth. The other Nins didn't fare much better, as they too were hit by spikes moving far too fast for them to dodge. Only the leader managed to avoid getting hit. "Not bad, Kiri Nin-san, not many can dodge my attacks when I use my Jinsukiden jutsus," Naruto says as he walks into the camp, ignoring the downed Nins since the spikes were made from his chakra receiver metal and was messing up their chakra. The Kiri Nin reached for the sword on his back. "Another brat," sneers. "Well, it doesn't matter with the power of Kiri's legendary blast sword. I'll just blow you away, so get ready to face the power of the Shibuki. Splash. You lit dash. Asterisk Jinsukiden. Kosuku Hasha, swift release. High-speed projectile, asterisk Naruto says, while making 4 hand seals before creating another pike in his hand that starts so glow yellow as he throws it. The Nin died before he even realized the spike had entered his brain. "Well, that was fun," Naruto's human path says as he picks up the Shibuki, and the Predapath unties the two children. "And from what I can sense, the Umbu will be here in a few seconds, so you two wait here for them. Okay? Good now, bye-bye," the two Naruto says before disappearing in 2 puffs of smoke. With those two gone, Hanabi turns to Konohamaru and gives him a small kiss on the cheek, making him turn red just as the Umbu arrive. Back at the academy, Naruto just smiled as he continued to feed Hinata. After a while, the doors opened and the Jonin senseis for Team 8 and 10 came and took their teams away. With that, Naruto just sat back and ignored everything around him in favor of what his paths are doing. With the Azura path, Naruto's Azura path had just finished taking care of an infamous shinobi thief that has for the past 2 years been going around stealing items and scrolls in order to create his own ninja village, but that not gonna happen now that he is dead. But who cares, the story is not about him anyway. But the stuff he had collected was really something. One of the first things that grabbed Naruto's attention was the most recently stolen item, a scroll from the Fire Temple that contained information on the special chakra that the monks uses, known as the Senzoku no Sai, gift of the hermit group. "Wonderful, with this once I can use that, then it will be even more powerful, especially if I continue to eat the chakra meat I took from the Sanbai and Nibi," Naruto said mentally. "Don't forget about the other Biju's kit, not to mention all the other kinds of chakra that can be found around the world. If you add those to the mix, then that will no doubt be your most powerful ability," Kyo says while he does who knows what inside Naruto's body. "Yeah. Why do we keep saying that instead of its name?" Naruto asks, to which Kyo just shrugs his shoulders. With the animal path. Naruto animal path was at the moment deep inside a cave in Lightning Country. "Let's see, where could it be? I know it's here since I can sense it, but where? Oh, there it is," Naruto said as he found an old chest at the end of the cave. With that, Naruto opened the chest and smiled before removing the item inside of it. The Kokinjo golden canopy rope. It was also then he heard something truly annoying. The sound of Jinjuriki that sucks at rapping. Back at the academy. Naruto just looked annoyed. And it was then that the doors opened and their Jonin came in, and after just one look, Naruto slams his head into the desk as he and his paths yells out, "Fuck! Not another pervert!" Kakashi just stood there wide-eyed thinking, is it really that obvious? At the academy, Kakashi just stared at the 3 Genins before regaining the ability to talk. Hey now, you shouldn't go calling people you don't know dash. You are a over 20-year-old virgin pervert who lacks depth perception and has no confidence in your own looks, which is why you wear a mask. Accept and get over it already, you freaking scarecrow," Naruto said, cutting him off and making Kakashi fall to his knees with a spotlight shining down on him. "It is true. But how did he know? Is it that obvious?" Kakashi tough in despair. "Yeah, it is very obvious, so you can no longer hide it. You just plain suck, sensei," Naruto said in the same tone used for stating a fact like the sky is blue. After a while, Kakashi managed to pull himself together. "Well then, my first impression of you all is, I hate you. Especially you, Blondie." "Okay, I'm skipping a bit forward since I don't feel like doing the introduction thing, since it is the same as canon except Naruto's is a bit different." Naruto just fell into his bed and sighed. "So tomorrow there is going to be another test. Sights, and hear I though that the Scarecrow was such a Uchiha fanboy that he would pass just because the emo was on the team," closes his eyes. "Stupid rapping Kumo-nin," Naruto said. With the stupid rapping Kumo-nin. Naruto's paths were having a hard time fighting the Hachibi Jinchuriki, who at first was rapping about not being a pervert and getting the treasured tool, but now was powering up Imari, menacing ball, in his full Biju form. If not for the fact that the animal path was nearby and summoned the other paths, then the fight would have already been over, since as powerful as he is, Naruto still have to go all out for opponents like this. Asterisk Kuchios, summoning, asterisk, said the animal path as he slammed his hands down on the ground, creating a large cloud of smoke. It was at that moment the Kumo Jinchuriki fired the Imari into the smoke, blowing up whatever it was the path summoned. But it didn't matter, for his distraction had allowed Naruto's paths to surround him and were now all making hand seals. Asterisk Dai Hatting Shibojaku no Mushosuke, great 8-point entrapment of independence. Asterisk. They all shouted as 6 cubes were shoot at the Hachibi. Once they reached it, a blinding flash came, and when it faded it was revealed that a giant cube was encasing all of the 8 tentacles along with everything else all the way to the center of the Biju's chest. And then the cube turned green. Couldn't even scream as half of its lungs were gone. Once the battle was over and the Kumo Jinchuriki was unconscious, Naruto started to mess with his head, so that he wouldn't remember anything of what happened besides a black cloak with red clouds on it, as well as seeing if he had any useful memories, which he did, and now Naruto knows how to get his hands on the treasured tool inside of Kumo along with a few other things. Yes, we're going to the very interesting tomorrow. Now it would just be a good idea to leave, since this fight will have caught the attention of a lot of people. The next day, Naruto got out of bed, got dressed, grabbed something to eat, and headed off to Training Ground 7. "Naruto Baka, you're late," and Kakashi-sensei said not to eat anything, Sakura yelled as Naruto neared the training ground. Naruto ignored her and instead pulled his arm back as if to throw something. With a puff of smoke, Kakashi arrives. "Hey, every splat." The rest of what Kakashi was going to say never came as he was interrupted by a wedding cake hitting him in the face. Silence. "From now on, Ero-sensei, please don't be late. Okay?" Naruto said happily. "Where did that cake come from?" was the thoughts of Sasuke and Sakura. "Okay, I'm really starting to hate this kid," Kakashi mentally growled. After cleaning himself up a bit, he explained and started the test. However, he really did not like the look in Naruto's eyes. With the Deva, human, and Preta paths. 3 of Naruto's path were at the moment inside of Kumo, using the information that had been gathered from Killer Bee and the summoned spies to move around without any problems. The Deva path was walking around inside the Raikage Tower with an advanced henge on, making him look like a older, longer silver-haired version of himself with a little bit different facial structure and no whiskers. It also changed his chakra signature and made it seem weaker. The Preta path was following close behind under a special Suiton/Genjutsu hybrid that prevents him from being seen, smelt, or having his chakra sensed. However, this came at the cost of not being able to use any other chakra-related skill like wall walking. The human path, however, was moving to different locations in the village looking for useful things such as scroll or people that he can use his abilities on. Back at the bell test, Naruto was sitting in a tree kissing Hinata. No, that is what he wished was happening in reality. He was watching Sasuke get his ass violated by Kakashi thanks to a quick substitution when the one-eyed perv tried to do that to him. Sasuke is an emo idiot. Sakura a banshee whore and Kakashi just plain suck. I wonder if I can switch to Hina-chan's team. Naruto complained mentally as he watched Sakura attack Kakashi while screaming how she is the only one that should violate Sasuke's, but Naruto just held up his left arm and an apple pie appeared in it. The reason for this is that Naruto had found a way to use the powers of the Rakuto Sannin no Hogu while they are still inside of him by letting them fuse with him slightly, and as a result he now has the power of the Bashozen in his left arm and the power of the Shikiseiken in his right. Also, if he wants, he can change what arm has what power, and since he has the Kokinjo and Beni Hiseigo, he no longer needs to pull out, cut of and record the word soul in order to use the word curse. Just getting cut by his claws or a chakra receiver blade from that arm will do. Jinsukuten, Kosuku Hasha, Naruto mutters while preforming a few one-handed seals, making the pie glow yellow slightly. Back with the other three, Kakashi had just knocked out Sakura with a genjutsu and buried Sasuke up to the head when he was hit in the face with the pie. He hit me in the face again. I fucking hate this kid. Kakashi was at this point on fire out of rage, and was about to go hunting blondes when he heard something behind him, causing him to spin around to grab what he believed to be the blonde genin that had come to steal a bell. "Got you," Kakashi said loudly as he grabbed something soft. It wasn't Naruto. It was the right boob of Kurenai, and behind her was Asuma, Anko, and Guy. All the color disappeared from Kakashi's face as an angry aura surrounded Kurenai, Anko, and Asuma while Guy started to scream about unyouthfulness. What horrors happened after that cannot be described in mortal words. Naruto was watching it all with a smile and some of popcorn, and to think all he had to do was send a few clones to deliver a few messages, and this happened with is even better than what he originally planned. That's right, perverts suffer. The only one whose perverseness I don't dislike is Hina-chan's, and sometimes maybe Kyo's. Naruto mentally laughed as his tufts drifted to his surprisingly perverted girlfriend. He was more than a little shocked when he found out that Hinata had very interesting ideas when it came to some things. In fact, when Naruto told Hinata that he was the son of Minato and Kushina, she was the one who brought up the fact that Naruto could have more than one wife thanks to the CRA, as well as the things that he could do with multiple girls. He also found out that while Hinata had no interest in any other guy than him, the same could however not be said for girls. That's right, the Hyuga princess is bi and actually wanted that Naruto would get more girls, and even went as far as to buy him a book on seduction. Naruto was snapped out of his thoughts of Hinata by the sound of the alarm clock ringing, telling all that the test was over. Okay, I'm skipping this part. In short, Sakura is tied to the log, and is then freed by Sasuke and Naruto later, making Kakashi pass them. Once the test was over, Naruto quickly left in order to find Hinata. While all of this was happening, the Azura Path was with the Hokage going over one of Naruto's project that would help improve Konoha, Project CC. The 2CS stands for clan creation, since that is exactly what this project is all about. The idea was to gather a group of people, mostly orphans, and then give them a clan home, a bit of money to support themselves with for a time, and one of the scrolls that Naruto created for this, and then see if they can make it. The scrolls contain jutsu and other things that Naruto gathered and felt would fit with the kind of clan that he had designed. So far, Naruto had 5 clan scrolls that each had enough in them to start a clan with, but they can be upgraded if he finds more things that fit. The 5 clans so far are Otokane, Sound Bell, a clan that uses sound for their jutsu, both nin, gen, and taijutsu. Many of the jutsu and other stuff was stolen from the newly made Sound Village, but there are a few that aren't, and Naruto has heard rumors about a bat summoning contract that would fit in with this clan very well. Kenko, Health, a clan that is going to specialize in medical jutsu, as well as poison-related things, and cooking, making its members mostly for support roles. Shusing, Nature, a clan that will be given the one bloodline limit that Naruto has created and can safely give to other. The limit does not have a name, but it gives the wielder a very strong affinity for one of the 5 main elements. With element is completely random. This clan will specialize in elemental ninjutsu, but will be the smallest since Naruto could only create a limited amount of the bloodline. Takazora, High Sky, a clan that shall specialize in aerial combat and other things that can be done if you can fly. Sajishi, Deceiver, a clan that will focus mostly on things like infiltration, spying, and sabotage, so its members won't be all that powerful in a fair fight, which is why they want fight fair. Naruto is even looking into ways to safely give other people bloodline limits in order to help making the clan stronger, but so far he has not had that much success despite being given access to the research notes and old labs of Orochimaru and Hiriko by the Sandaime as long as he reports what he is doing in there. Also, this project will make things difficult for Danzo since much more attention will be paid to the orphanages now, which in turn will make people notice that there are children missing since Danzo has been recruiting them. So he will need to lay low and not be able to continue any of his plans for some time unless he wants to be discovered. Of course, this will be very expensive, but that was easily fixed since the civilian part of the council will pay for it as they are arrested for a few things such as using the village treasury for their own gain, trying to steal from the Namikaze, Uzumaki, and Senju accounts along with some other things which will have them stripped of everything they own and have most of them locked in prison. While all of these different things were happening, Naruto's main body was doing something much more important, namely spoiling Hinata with cake and other wonderful things as he told her what he has been doing lately. So Naruto-kun, what do you think the Raikage's reaction will be when he finds out that the Kahaku no Johei, amber purifying pot, has been stolen? Hinata asks while munching on a piece of strawberry cake. Angry most likely, but I wouldn't worry yet since I only connected with it so that I can summon it into my own little world whenever I want. After all, if it disappeared now, then my Deva Path would be among the first to put the blame on. My Preta Path won't be able to finish memorizing their forbidden scroll, and that nice secretary would also get blamed for letting me distract her, was Naruto's answered. Oh? And how did you distract her? Hinata asks with greater interest as Naruto had used a genjutsu to show her what the secretary looks like, and Hinata had to admit she was good looking. Oh, nothing much, just a few things I learned from that book you gave me. Naruto answers with a smirk. Hey kid, I just finished with those 2 bloodlines you gave me, came Kyo's voice from within Naruto's mindscape. Good job, why don't you take a break and go hunt some giant rabbits or something, Naruto suggested, which Kyo gladly agreed to as he ran out into that which at one point had been nothing more than a small mindscape in the form of a sewer but now was a large world filled with all kinds of wonders. And everything was just as real as the world outside of Naruto thanks to all the power and abilities that Naruto now had. With that, Naruto just continued to talk with Hinata. With the animal path. The animal path at the moment was in Earth Country, the feudal lord's palace to be more precise. After summoning the human path and some small spy summons, the animal path left while the human path headed towards his target. The target is Jin Kuroiwa, the second son of the Earth Daimyo. Jin is someone who has received the short end of the stick in life. Ever since he was born, he has had a sick and frail body. Not only that, but the woman who he has had a secret relationship with is to be married to his brother Kinjin, who wants her just to be cruel to his younger brother. So now he is stuck in bed with his love by his side, waiting for his brother to come and mock him for the last time since the doctors say that Jin will not live past sundown. But as he lay there looking at the face of his beloved, he can't help but think of the offer he was given 2 weeks ago. Ai-chan, I need to talk with you about something, Jin says weakly. What is it, Jin-kun? Ai asks. As for how she looks, just imagine some anime girl in a kimono. Some time ago a person visited me and made me an offer. He offered me a healthy body, the chance to marry you, and even the place as father's successor, Jin admits, earning a shocked look from Ai before he continued. But of course not without a price, 3 to be exact. First, the life of my brother, who despite being far from a good person is still family. Second, my identity as Jin Kuroiwa, and third, after that I will follow his orders. Jin finishes as Ai looks unsure for a moment before answering. If he can truly do what he has promised, then I say go for it. After all, it can't be worse than what your brother will do, Ai said just before the doors opened up and a man walked inside, closing the doors after him. Oh? What is this about a promise and what I will do? The man that looks like a black-haired Jin from Bleach asks in an extremely arrogant tone. Nothing much, just getting rid of you and having your brother literally take your place, answers Naruto's human path from his place up in the ceiling, scaring the crap out of everybody in the room before continuing. Now then, Jin-sama, from what I heard it would seem that you are going to accept my offer, correct? Naruto asks, earning a nod from Jin. Great, then let's begin. Naruto happily says, sends chakra to his eyes, and cast a powerful genjutsu over everyone in the room. Inside the genjutsu, everyone finds themselves inside a large room full different decorations, and near the end of the room there was a table with 4 chairs. Now don't worry, I'm a professional, and best of all is that I got friends on the other side. Naruto says as creepy echo was heard. That's an echo, gentlemen. A little parlor trick, don't worry, Naruto said as he led the trio towards the table. Start to watch or listen to friends on the other side from Disney's Princess and the Frog up to the point where they sit down and just picture Naruto in Dr. Fasolier's place, the couple in the prince's place, and Kinjin in Lawrence's place. The three just looked at Naruto like he was completely insane. Naruto's smile suddenly turned into a somewhat evil smirk before asking, "Are you ready?" Start to watch or listen to the part where the prince is turned into a frog and just put Kinjin in his place. And as the lights goes out, the genjutsu ends. Outside the genjutsu, Naruto smiled as he saw them waking up from the genjutsu, not knowing that while they were trapped in it, Naruto had used Tamashii no Koken, exchange of souls, to switch the two brothers' bodies along with placing a few seals on one of them. Kinjin, now inside the younger brother's body, died from the shock of realizing that he lost everything, leaving Naruto and the other two so that they can come up with cover stories for all the things that are going to happen in peace. In the end, the story would be that Kinjin would turn over a new leaf and be a kinder and better person, as was asked by his brother just before he died, along with a few other details. Well, it has been fun, but I got go now since I have some other things to take care of, but don't worry, I have ways to contact you, Naruto says before disappearing with a puff of smoke. With the main Naruto. Naruto smiled as Hinata was sitting in his lap as they watched the sun go down before saying softly, "Today has been a wonderful day, and yet for some reason I feel that there is still one more good thing left to happen. I wonder what it could be." Kufufufu. After that, Naruto just continued to enjoy the sunset. With Kaguro. Kaguro was looking at the strange thing in front of him. He was well aware that you could do some seriously freaky shit with chakra, but to literally grow an army now, that is something. But anyway, he already put the seal plates that Naruto had sent him into the back of the ghetto manzo. Now there was just one thing left to do. Kaguro held up a pair of seal-covered plates made from Naruto's chakra receiver metal, and then placed them against the Shodame Hokage face of the cloning thing, and the plates just seemed to sink into it without leaving a trace. With that, Kaguro took one last look at the army of Zetsu clones before sneaking out of that place with incredible stealth. Or what would have been incredible stealth if he hadn't been humming the Mission Impossible music.